So I'm sure y'all thought y'all seen the last of me, right? I don't know if you remember me. Hi everyone, my name's Caleb. I used to make videos on this channel quite often. Actually, not often at all. I posted like once a month. But if you're wondering where I've been, I'm hoping this video is gonna clear things up for you about why I left, why I'm back, and just re-catch you up about what's been going on in my life. I knew I wanted to make this video where I explain where I've been and what I've been up to and why I decided to stop making content, but I also didn't want it to be like emotional or stupid. So what I decided to do is just keep this as me as I can. So let's freaking do it, y'all. It does feel a little bit weird making like a deep dive style video about like your actual mental health and well-being, but like I'm into it. Let's do it. If you're wondering where I've been for the last 13 months, I can safely say I've done literally nothing, y'all. I wish that I could come back and tell you all these wild things that have happened, but I'm afraid to say that literally nothing has happened at all. I started working at Starbucks a couple months ago. That's been taking up a lot of my time. It's been not good. Actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that because like I'm actually like still employed there and like am actively on the payroll, so I might get in trouble if I'm like talking bad about Starbucks, but like don't work at Starbucks, y'all. I'm a junior in college now. I'm in my new apartment. I like tried to like show you, but there's like literally nothing in here. I'm here in my apartment. I finally have my own place and it feels really nice and I'm really happy. If I'm gonna be completely honest with you, for those who are concerned about my break or my mental health or the things that I was up to, I can safely say there wasn't much going on in that department for me. Honestly, a big reason why I didn't post at all in the last year was because I didn't have that much freaking time, y'all. Right after I posted my last video, I moved in for my sophomore year of college. There was just like a lot going on at that point. It was during the pandemic. I had online classes. I thought that that would speak for productivity, and then it didn't. It was not good. If I were to try and describe the last year of my life, I would say it was building my social life, like straight up. I think back to my freshman year and like I had basically no friends, no one who was like actively trying to hang out with me. Nobody was ever trying to study, no one was ever trying to get food. Nobody wants to do anything ever. And so that was like something that was not good in my life that I had 6 months during a pandemic to really like reflect on. And going back into my sophomore year, I had a lot of things that I was like ready to change, and I think that I succeeded in that. I met so many people. My life has changed a lot. I think that I've grown more in the last 12 or 13 months than I probably have in my entire life. If I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I don't think I could have done that growth in front of a camera. When you spend your entire teen years making content on a weekly basis or putting all of your energy into online stuff and not really taking a step outside and having a social life and meeting people and having a good balance, I think it becomes very harmful. It felt good to just take my hands off of that and just like be a normal college student. I don't want to say that my break was all good, but it felt necessary for where I was at that point. So yeah. Next. The reason why I've decided to come back now, is probably, yeah, so I guess we're gonna start talking about the mental illness. I think something else that was playing into the reason why I did not post content was because I simply didn't have time, but also because when I did have the time, or I did have the inspiration, I was experiencing extreme mental block. I remember I was having like absolutely no inspiration for anything at all. So I was like, what will give me something to talk about? Something I know is gonna get views, something I know is relevant to talk about. Y'all won't believe it, hold on. I was out here so desperate, I bought Jessica Lemon's Return of the Bad Boy. And then I was like reading that and I was like, that's stupid and I feel depressed. Maybe The Billionaire Bachelor will make me feel good about myself and give me something to talk about. No, it didn't. And then I was like trying to find weird, stupid books, so I bought this book. Y'all know it's bad when your boy bought not one, but 2 Colleen Hoover books. I read this entire book and took like detailed notes. literally, and I just didn't ever film or post it because I like didn't know what to say. It felt for a while like that was a natural growth for me. Like, oh, I've done YouTube for 6 or 7 years and I'm outgrowing it. And I think a big part of that is probably the fact that like we're in a pandemic right now, and for a long time it felt kind of unnecessary to be like, LOL, this book is stupid, when like there's so much going on and it's just like a very stressful time for everybody. I don't think that I was in the mental place to be able to like be funny or write notes or watch a movie and have things to say. And it was very tough because I saw this thing that I had worked for years on, building up this platform. Now here I am, and it's like wilting away, and the number is slowly going like this because I don't have the mental capacity to post anything. So the reason why I'm back now is because a few weeks ago, I was having what I would consider maybe some sort of a mental breakdown. Not a mental breakdown, because that sounds way more intense than it actually was. It was more just like a series of reflections that I was repeatedly having, and like this weird thing in my life where like I literally felt like there's no purpose to life like at all, which is like not good to say. But I just had this deep craving for something more, and like I was feeling randomly like self-destructive and like feeling like crazy, and I realize now it's because I literally had no passions that I was like putting my energy into. I started this channel, and for a long time I was posting tons of videos and I was reading tons of books. I was going from like reading 50 books in a year to like slowly reading like 20 books a year, and then the next year reading like 10 books a year. Last year I can safely say I did not read a single book. So it felt like that hobby, which once gave me so much validation and joy and energy, it felt like that started to wilt away. I've always loved to write, and I love creative writing and all of that stuff. In the last year or two, my love for those projects and writing and coming up with ideas has started to fall away. And then in this last year, I haven't made any YouTube videos, and that passion fell away. I think that when you have something you're passionate about, it's like this weird euphoric release of energy. And for a long time, I was not having that at all. I used to have that when I'd finish writing a chapter, or when I'd post a YouTube video and I'd get to read everyone's comments. Slowly over the last few years, I've come to a place where I'm having none of that. And I think that that's not good for your mental health. I just think that that's not a good way to live your life, and like quickly like things can go downhill. So if I'm being honest, one of the main reasons why I've decided to come back is because I'm craving a passion, and I don't know where else to look. I've loved creating content for so many years, and it is something that I never wanted to give up, and then I slowly did because I wasn't in a good headspace for it. That sounds really intense. But like also, I just want to make content, y'all. But also, your boy is broke. Is it morally wrong to say that one of the big reasons why I want to come back is because I literally have no money? Like, am I allowed to say that? I know the drama people are going to be really excited about me saying that, but like, truthfully, let me explain myself. I work at Starbucks, okay? And I work like 15 to 20 hours a week. My bank account is going like this because I'm working 20 hours a week at Starbucks. How is that even freaking possible? I know that it sounds so stupid and maybe it sounds naive, but like minimum wage is not good, y'all. The amount of trauma that I endure on a daily basis at Starbucks is nowhere near the amount of money I'm making. I don't want to seem like I'm just here for money, because I'm absolutely not. Like, I am desperately craving a passion and like craving a sense of purpose in life, but also like a check would be nice. But I think the fact that I had a platform that I had built up for years, something I've worked so hard on and was making good money from, nothing crazy, but like a steady amount of money that was like a bit more than I'm making at Starbucks now. But the fact that I had that, and the fact that the work I was doing never felt like hard work, it just felt like something that was good for me. I think I just severely underestimated how important and how special that was. I would much rather do something that I think is healthy for me and something that I'm passionate about in something I spent years growing, I would rather do that than get like verbally harassed because I forgot to put something in someone's Frappuccino. I'm not saying that money is guaranteed from this platform, especially after taking a full year off of posting, and I'm not gonna make any crazy decision and quit my job before like I know that like I'm actively gonna be posting and people actually care about what I'm gonna be posting. But honestly, at the end of the day, Starbucks does have really good benefits because it does feel nice after a long day of being gaslit and verbally harassed to take home a free coffee. I've been doing YouTube since like 2013, 2014, and when I first started, I was in middle school, and so something that you might not know about me is that for many years, I told no one that I made YouTube videos. It felt like it was something really important to me to sort of keep to myself, and a big part of that is because naturally at that point, I was very shy, I was very inward, I didn't really share too much of my life with the people around me, and I think because when I was on YouTube, I was very energetic and very out there, and I was funny, and it felt like when I was on YouTube, my guard was down and I was just being like my very authentic self. Part of the reason why I didn't want people to see my videos was because I was nervous that people in my real life would see this version of myself that was very out there, and as a result of that, I would have a hard time being around that person because then I felt like I was expected to be a different way, or that they would see a side of me that I don't show a lot of people, and that maybe they would expect that, or they would think it was ingenuine. And so it just became this weird identity crisis of sorts. There was like a version of myself when I was at school, then there was this YouTube version, and then like there was this real version of myself like somewhere deeper inside that I couldn't quite reach yet. And it literally became like so many different versions. In one version, I was like quiet and shy, and then in the other version, I was like energetic and funny. And it felt like because there were so many different versions of myself, it became hard to realize which one was which. And I think that I was dealing with that and the ramifications of that literally up until I stopped making YouTube videos, because I didn't have the space to do that growth and to figure that out like on my own. But also, growing up on YouTube is so weird because I feel like everyone will agree with this, but when you're like 15, 16, 17, I feel like you change like your perspective of the world or your approach to life like literally like every few weeks or months. It was a weird thing trying to navigate like changing as a person while also actively posting content, because like I kept going from this thing where I was like, no, I'm smart and I'm analytical and I'm like very critical of the things I'm reading, and then like a couple weeks later I would change my mind and I'd be like, I think it's more fun if I just read stupid things because it's goofy and weird and like there are funny jokes. Instead of people viewing that as like growth or seeing that as someone who's young and figuring things out, people see that as like you being inauthentic or like fake. The last year has been a year of growth and figuring myself out, and for the first time in 6 or 7 years, I actually took my hands off the wheel of YouTube and let myself be a normal person, and it felt really good. And I'm really happy with where I am. And honestly, something that I don't think I've ever really mentioned is some of the extreme negatives to being a young person making content. But I'd get comments on like my body or like my voice. And I remember one time on something, like you could see my feet. And I remember like getting a weird like foot fetish person talking about like my feet. And I literally was like very young and had never been like sexualized before. In subsequent videos, I would never show my bare feet, and I'd always have socks on or shoes on, even when I was just like around my house. And I remember getting comments all the time wondering why I was always wearing shoes, and it was because I was extremely uncomfortable of the comments I was getting. But I think that there's just been a pressure that's been taken off of me, and I'm very excited to continue making content without that pressure. Okay, you know what? Let's freaking talk about it, y'all. Can we talk about my toxic relationship with the book community over the last like 6 years of making content? Like straight up, can we talk about that? I feel like I've been gaslit for like 6 years straight. Like no joke. My entire time making content, People have always like had these weird perceptions of me that were never true, or I would do something very innocently and it was always turned negative. And I've never had anyone in my life validate those things until recently, and literally it's freaking crazy, y'all. One of the things that I think is a good example of me being gaslit at the age of like 16 was when I made a video where I was like, oh my gosh, if I went to BookCon, I would be like so crazy. All these people are fierce and they're doing these photo shoots and they're getting all these books and they're all besties. Like if I went, I'd be psycho. I shouldn't say psycho because the people get mad about that, but I would be too stressed to talk to all these strangers that I've admired for like 5 years, and I wouldn't want to take pictures because I'm ugly and I don't feel comfortable like posing for pictures. I do now, which is fierce, but the fact that everyone's perception of that was that I was like saying that people who dress up are stupid and ugly. That is gaslighting. Straight, I hate when YouTubers say gaslighting, but I've been gaslit for years, y'all, and I never noticed it. I love playing the victim, I really do, but I think I am the victim. Something that I want to say, and I don't want to play the victim too much, but like this is something that I do think is the reality. Ever since my channel blew up in like 2017 or 2018, and since I've started like really building my platform, so many people in the community have like deeply resented me for that. There were so many people that I thought I was friends with. There were so many things that I thought that I was doing right, but the fact that no creators ever publicly supported me, no one ever like would congratulate me, nobody would ever like reach out to me when I was doing all of that stuff, to me, y'all just were bitter and resentful because I'm fierce, sexy, and beautiful, and y'all know that y'all never have none of that. But also, like, I do think that I was a little bit rude and maybe rubbed people the wrong way, but we're not gonna talk about that. But I am saying this, I will not be engaging with anybody in the book community going forward, except for the people I like. There's like 3. I don't want to be a part of the book community. I don't want to be associated with the book community. I think that they are not great people. I shouldn't say that because I'm trying to get a book published. We live for the book community. We love them. They are smart, they are beautiful, and they are sexy. All right, let's move on. So I did get canceled. For those of you who don't know, I posted a video that was called, I don't even remember. I watched The Fault in Our Stars like rip-off movies. They were all the movies that were like romanticizing like illness or like cancer. But when I posted that video, I honestly think that I got more support than I've gotten in like any video I've ever posted. The amount of comments I was getting for people who said that like they had cancer, or they had a loved one who had cancer, or a family member who had cancer, they really appreciated me talking about the subject, and that they agreed that it was very toxic, and that the romanticization was like very uncomfortable, and that there was never good research done. That made me feel very empowered as a creator, and I just remember feeling like I did something good. I was just very proud of the work I had done and the things that I had said because of that. So the next day, I wake up and I'm having my coffee and I check Twitter, and the first thing I see is some random person putting like a subtweet being like, some people in this community are ableist. And then I was seeing like threads about it. Some random girl made like an entire like novel about like every single like second of the video analyzed with every small detail that could possibly be bad or without context, or like the tone can sound extremely insensitive. Suddenly here I am, after feeling very empowered that I was doing good and that I was like raising awareness against a genre that a lot of times hurts the people who are actually like suffering with these illnesses. Now I'm being canceled from a bunch of random people on Twitter because they think that that's ableist, even though they don't have the diseases and don't seem credible like at all. And so me being the bigger person, always, I decided I'm gonna message these people who are having like the loudest outcries, and I'm gonna ask them what specifically in the video was ableist. I was gonna ask them how I could solve this issue. I would donate money. I would take down the video and re-edit the video, or add like a disclaimer. Like I would do anything just to like make sure that people understood what I was saying. All these people who are all pissed about all this is saying, oh, it's fine, I just misunderstood what you were saying. Or they're like saying that like, it's not a big deal and I totally understand where you're coming from. And I'm like, okay, so it's fine, but then the tweets are still up. And then they start tweeting more and liking shady tweets, calling me the James Charles of the book community. And honestly, when I say that I reached out to those people, it was because I actually wanted to learn. I wanted to figure out what I had done wrong. I wanted to figure out if there was a way for me to fix that issue, or how I could prove that that was never the intent of the video. And I'll be honest, when everyone was like, oh, it's fine, and then would continue to tweet, it did take a severe toll on my mental health. And when I'm looking through the threads of tweets, is it a little bit triggering? Yes, absolutely it is. One of the complaints was that there were no captions on my video. There was a group of friends calling me out, and when I looked at all of their YouTube videos, none of them had captions. So I just didn't understand why it was, maybe it's because I have more followers, but I just didn't understand why it was drama, and I'm ableist because of that. Do you know what I mean? There were people saying that I was laughing when the characters were dying, and that instead of it being oh, this acting is so bad and this would never happen, and Bella Thorne isn't a good actress, they perceived that as me maniacally laughing at a young girl dying of a disease. I don't know why I laughed when she started to die.
What's going on? You have to go as fast as you can. Okay, I'm going.
I guess the sun is coming up in a clip, and he begins laughing at that, even though it's known that she really cannot be exposed to sunlight. And then he also says that he laughed when she started to die.
All right. And I'll be honest, I saw this group of people tweeting, and I literally thought that they were all 15 or 16. So that's why I never made any public statement, because I was I'm not gonna defame or talk trash about a child in the way that people talked about me when I was 15 or 16. I realize these people are well into their 20s, some into their 30s. They're my age, and they're saying all this. That is so humiliating. When I had said that oh, they're so sexy, all of these teenagers are not only sick, but they are also sexy. Instead of perceiving that as me being oh, people with cancer are sexy, and we're romanticizing that, they saw that as me saying that they were pretty, because in real life, people with cancer or illnesses are ugly. And people in the comments agreed. Do you know what I mean when I'm saying I feel like I'm getting gaslit? I'm out here minding my own business, and y'all think that I, a 20-year-old college student who honestly has a lot to lose, I'm gonna post a video where the point of the video is that people with cancer are ugly and it's funny when they die? Who's doing that? And honestly, if there are people doing that, please send me a link, because I am very curious. So they were saying that saying words like crazy, insane, or idiot were all derogatory towards mental illness.
I think he uses terms in the video also crazy, psycho, idiot, which are ableist terms against people who have real mental conditions.
But then when you look up these people username and any of the words that they said were ableist and not okay to say, they've all tweeted them. That's weird. It kind of feels like they're just singling me out because they already had a grudge against me for some reason.
I tried to watch the video. I watched a third of it, but I just couldn't watch anymore. I just couldn't. So,
and maybe this is intense to say, but it seems extremely bold for a bunch of random ass people who don't have cancer or don't have any of the illnesses that I was even talking about in the first place, feeling the need to say that I was ableist when they had nothing to do with it in the first place. How come every comment I was getting from people with cancer or with a loved one with cancer, they all understood what I was saying and agreed, but then a bunch of random ass people on Twitter don't? And they have the right to call it bad. I'm actually asking. And then I'm having a mental health crisis, so I decide to private my Twitter for a little while, and then the narrative is oh, he's getting called out, so he's going private because he can't take the criticism. But here's the thing, right? I will apologize for that video. I will not apologize for saying idiot. I will not apologize for saying that I think people who have cancer are ugly, or any of the things that are absolutely not true and were made up just to defame me. But I am going to apologize for the tone that I had in that video. I severely think that my tone was not it. I think that sometimes I have a very dry sense of humor that I think that people a lot of times don't understand or perceive as like aggressive, when I don't think that that's ever really the case. I think I could have done more research. I think I could have better applied that to the video, but I didn't. And I approached it like any other like bad movie, and I think that I should have taken more care with it, and I will absolutely apologize for that. I do think that my goal with that video was to raise awareness for how I think that able-bodied people romanticizing sick people is kind of messed up. I thought that's what I was saying, and I thought that was the message that was going to get across to everyone, and I guess maybe that's not quite the case, and I am sorry for that, because if you ever think that I would try and say something or hurt someone's feelings or like literally make fun of a sick person, that's not it. That's not who I am. That's not what I would ever try to do. I think that I could have maybe fleshed out some of my jokes, or maybe like really made it clear what I was trying to do with the video. But I think because I tried to rush it and I was moving back to school shortly after I had posted that, I just sort of like rushed through it really quickly and didn't give the video the time and care it needed. And I think that the video suffered because of that. And so at the end of the day, I think that if we were going to call that video out, we should have called it not greatly researched. We could have called it messy. I don't think we should have called it ableist and attacked my character when I've done absolutely nothing to show for any sort of ableism or not supporting people with illnesses. And I think that it is like very brash and very, honestly, it's very concerning when people take that approach to a video that was getting a lot of praise for people who are actually sick. So that's my thoughts about that. So I think that everything's off my chest now. I don't know if there's anything else I want to talk about, really. Maybe not. There is this very nervous feeling I have about returning to YouTube, though. I'm nervous that I'm gonna make this big return and I'm gonna start making money from my YouTube videos and I'm gonna quit Starbucks, and then the mental block that I've been experiencing for the last year is gonna return, and then I'm gonna be unemployed. I'm scared that I'm gonna try to put all of my eggs into YouTube again, and then nobody's gonna care about the content and everyone's gonna unsubscribe and it was all for nothing. I am scared of that. I'm just excited to make content again. There's so much that I want to say, and there's so much that I'm excited to do, especially now that I'm in a place where I feel like I have less to prove to myself. And honestly, it's been so long since I've made any sort of content on a public platform that I'm very excited to be back. I'm very excited to reintroduce myself and my style of content. I don't think I felt this pumped up to create since like 2018, and it feels so refreshing. If you made it to the end of this video, I love you. If you didn't, that's just upsetting for all of us. I love you all a lot, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.